Our next guest, you might have seen him on television. He has been on High Fidelity, The Deuce, The Conan O'Brien Show. He has written for Cartoon Network favorites like Adventure Time, Marvel, Spider-Man, Star Wars, Star Trek, The Muppets. He is the best-selling author of The Dark Knight Manual and The Avengers Infinity War, The Cosmic Quest. His newest book is called Rube Goldberg and His Amazing Machines. So welcome, Brandon T. Snider.
Hey, hey, hey! It's good to see you, Chris.
I love your background, by the way, too. I only have a little golem back here.
Hey, but that's a clear golem. That's kind of exciting. I was like, is this too distracting? But I decided it wasn't. I have to, it's my menagerie. It's my world.
I love your world. Like I say, my little invisible golem with the ring on back here doesn't quite do justice to what you have.
But you know what? I might have to send you one of my new additions, which is this chicken McNugget, vintage.
I absolutely love that. Well, let's start with your book, because Brandon, Rube Goldberg is Amazing Machines. It comes out in less than a month, and
yes,
I was
November
given an
16th.
advance copy. I loved it. I laughed so hard. So can you please tell us about the book?
So Rube Goldberg and His Amazing Machines is really, it's the story about, well, first of all, it's the first book in a series. We're starting with 3 books that follow Rube Goldberg. And if you don't know, Rube Goldberg was a famous cartoonist that used to draw these very complicated machines that would perform a very simple task. And so we have reimagined Rube as a neurotic 6th grader who is, it's really, it's about a kid who's learning to get out of his own way. He has this amazing gift, which is to make these machines, but he doesn't really know exactly what to do with it. And he is a worrier. I think that you might have noticed that about him. He's a worrier. He is a stressed kid. And I think ultimately his journey in this book, and the rest of the cast's journey as well, is really about rising to the occasion to meet the moment, not just for himself and his friends, but for also his community, I would say.
Well, you put that very stressed Rube Goldberg into the hotbed that is middle school, quote, the United Nation of hormones, as you describe it. So why did you decide to put him in middle school?
Middle school is this time when things start making more sense in some ways and less sense in others. And it sounds so, I'm like, your body's going through changes, but it is. You're learning to navigate all these things with this weird sort of perspective, because you're growing, you're learning more about the real world. People are treating you different as you grow up. And things, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to see the world in a different way. And I think the challenge is growing from those mistakes and coming out the other end with a new perspective. And I think these kids, and Rube included, are on that path.
Well, Brandon, Rube is not alone in his adventure here. You had some great secondary characters in this book, and I will simply give a few of the names. Boob McNutt, Professor Butts, Pearl, Bertha. These secondary characters are so great. How did you come up with them? How did you decide to draw them this way? I mean, talk to me about some of those.
So not all of the secondary characters, but these were characters from the original Rube Goldberg cartoon strips, comic strips. Boob McNutt was like Rube Goldberg's most famous character that he ever drew. Most people just know him from drawing the machines, but he had all these other characters that he would draw strips. Mike and Ike. Lollapalooza was another one. Those were all began. I mean, I think of Lollapalooza as a music festival, but the Lollapalooza was originally a Rube Goldberg character. So we've sort of centered Rube himself, a version of Rube. This is not the real Rube Goldberg's life exactly. And then put his characters around him. Boob McNutt was one in particular that we were going back and forth about the name, being like, is it weird to name this kid? And I think you said that you read the book.
Yeah.
So you know that we address that very early on. And from what I have heard from people that have read the book, they understand and they think it's been handled very well. Because originally, there was just a question of like, is it too naughty? But then you totally understand. And I hope that once you get past that thing, you really understand who Boob is and the role that he plays. And it all makes a lot of sense.
That was one of my favorite parts of the book. So I wanted you to address
Cool.
that. The other
Very
part
happy.
was, again, Rube Goldberg and his, amazing machines. You had some great machines in there. The fold up toilet, the Spicer Upper, the Juicy Lucy. What was your favorite invention that you were able to come up with there?
Oh my gosh. So I have to give credit where credit is due. S.T.E.A.M, who is the artist on the series, the way that we work is I write the machine into the story, which is a challenge in and of itself to make it really organic. But I leave Ed to design the whole thing. I think if I tried to actually design it, it wouldn't be the challenge that we wanted. So, and he's also really, really good at it. I mean, he can draw these machines in a way that I could never even imagine them. So I would say I want to say the final machine, no spoilers, in the book is one of my favorites because there's an image in the book towards the end where you see. I can't really talk about it, but I feel like the last one, because one of the things too about the story and the way the machines work is that, the machines are these very complicated, there's lots of drama and mess to get to a very simple task. And that's kind of what you find Rube finds himself in, these very messy situations where it was like, if you just talked to one another, you would have solved this problem the whole time. Instead you're stressing about this and going through this. And so the story itself is kind of a little bit of an homage to a Rube Goldberg machine.
Brandon, I was trying to get you to spoil something that hasn't even come out yet, right? It's still to be
November
released.
16th.
I can't. Again, I was only able to see it on a PDF. I can't wait. I will buy it day one when it comes out.
Well, that makes me very happy. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it.
I have one more quick question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think the concept of Rube Goldberg, this type of problem solving, is important for us?
Oh gosh. I mean, the Rube Goldberg machine competition, which is a real thing that is nationally, I think for that specifically, there is a team building, that you've got people working together. But even if you're doing it yourself, it forces you to really think outside the box, because that is the nature of a Rube Goldberg machine. You to do something that is, just a sort of simple machine, it's not a Rube Goldberg machine if you don't really put your mind to it. And I think whether you're doing it on your own or with a group, it forces people to think outside the box in a way that they really have no choice. So it fosters that kind of creative thinking in a good way.
Brandon, thank you so very much. Everyone, go out and buy this book. November 16th, you said, right?
Yes, November 16th. You can pre-order it. My website is CooTieKid, COOTIEKID.com. Or if you just Google Rube Goldberg and his amazing machines, you can find it that way as well.
Everyone should do so. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you so much.